Hey guys, it's Nino again. So today I want to go over a quick little action set that I think you'll like, and it comes just strictly from popular demand. This is our Instagram prep action set. Various different options to prep images for Instagram based on, at least as of May 2023, what Instagram allows and what their certain proportions are and how their carousels work, etc. So we have a little set of actions here, super cost effective, and we made it, like I said, just from demand. Let me kind of go over it. So the first one is the carousel split that a lot of people do. Now, I know there's apps that do all of this for phones, okay, and tablets. And that's fine. But I think a lot of us as photographers, we kind of live in Photoshop, right? So having a tool that makes it quick and easy in Photoshop might be kind of cool. Certainly for me, it is. I don't like transferring things to my phone and then posting on Instagram if I can avoid it. Sometimes I can't, but I try to avoid it. And if you're going to make these carousel splits, you either use an app or you have to do something in Photoshop. So we've made some actions to make it quick. Now, if you're not familiar, let me explain. Let's look at this shot right here, okay? Let's say this shot, instead of showing it by itself, some people like to split it down the middle, evenly in the middle, and then upload those two halves as separate files, right? Save them as separate files. And then you upload them together onto an Instagram post as a carousel. In other words, a multi-shot post. And so when you swipe left and right, if you put the left half of the shot first and the right half of the shot second, when you swipe, it's literally like just panning across the image. And some people do that with 3 versions of the image, or 3 cuts of the image, I should say, and sometimes 4 and more. And a lot of people do a lot of cool creative things. And there are, like I said, apps that do this. And I'm sure there's stuff for Photoshop as well. But we have here at NBP a quick, cost-effective set of actions. And I'm going to show you how it works and give you some tips and tricks. Okay, so let's say this image, we want to show it as 2. A left and a right. Well, the first thing we should do when we're doing any of these is determine the overall proportions that we want of the shot. Now, the way the actions are set up, they can work from a flattened file, your final image like this one, exported and everything. You can open it and run the action, or, which we'll show you in a minute, it'll also work even if you have a bunch of working layers. So if you finish your edit, a bunch of color layers, a bunch of whatever layers you have going, you can run this. It will leave your original file intact and give you the split files to do and save however you want. So once again, first step, we have to determine the portions that we want. Right now, this image is 3:2. Okay, and that's fine. But let's say we want to make it a little bit, we want to make sure that it works on the Instagram width. So in that thinking, I want to split it in half. I'm going to make it 2:1. This crop set to 3:1 right now. Let's make it 2:1. And that way, when it splits it in half, and makes 2, they'll both be perfect squares, right? Let me tuck it to the side here a minute. And now we're going to run NBP Instagram horizontal carousel split 2-way. It's going to let you know, of course, that this will work. And, you probably should make it wide, 2:1 or 3:1 or something like that. It should work with the horizontal. But it also reminds you, like all of these, it will work on any proportion. You can run it on a vertical. It just won't be useful for you on Instagram, okay? So let's hit continue. And very, very quickly, turn that off. We see it's done. There it is. There's our 2 halves. They're exactly split, perfectly down the middle in proportions. One's labeled right side, one's labeled left side. You can save those however you prefer to save, and then upload them, and you'll have a perfect carousel, okay? So let's close those out. Now, let's say we want to keep it at a 2:1 ratio right now, but we want to try a 3-way split because that'll work, okay? So let's go ahead and run the second one, which is going to let you know that you probably should make it nice and wide to make it, make sure it works on Instagram. Hit continue. And there we go. We have 1, 2, and 3. And they're, like I said, labeled right side, center, and left side. They're all here. Save them however you want. Upload them to Instagram. Now, they're a little bit vertical, so they may get cropped by Instagram, but they also may not. This is why it's important to make it nice and wide. So I'm going to close these pieces out. And then let's make this 2.5:1. Very specific. Because we're trying to present a wide shot, a little clear. There we go. Crop that. And then when we say 3-way split, here we are. Now they're a little bit better proportions for Instagram because we know how Instagram is on the vertical. See that? And you can export those. But see, it doesn't matter what proportion you start with. It's going to split it into 3 even splits horizontally. That's kind of the entire point of that. Now we have a 4-way split as well. That's a pretty wide one. Not going to be too often used, I would imagine. But let's say we want to do a 4-to-1. You don't have to start in a 4-to-1, but to get the best success, a potential success, maybe a 4-to-1 will be good. So let's run it on this image. Okay. Drop that again, excuse me. And then we'll go 4-way. And there we are. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can save all those and export. Now, it's not resizing anything either. So there's plenty of data in here. This is fairly high res, as you can see. It does not resize your image. So it just simply changes the proportions and starts cutting things out. It's all math, like I said. It does not resize your image. So you can keep all the resolution that you want. Now, you can resize your image going in, or you can resize the pieces if you want. Once they're chopped up, you can do whatever you want. But it does not make that decision for you, okay? Now, another thing that some people like to do, I don't do it, but a lot of people like to do it, is the whole grid thing, where you might set up a 9x9 grid where you cut your image into 9x9, perfect square, 1-to-1 dimensions, proportions. And then that way, when someone goes to your Instagram account, their one image looks really big, split up into 9, right? Some people will do a horizontal, split up into 6, and some people do a vertical, split up into 12. Like I said, I don't do that, but I know there's apps that do. And I decided, well, let's make an action that does it. So I did. Now, if you decide to come to like this image and you want to use the 9-way, 1x1 9-box grid, if you try to run it, it'll tell you, hey, you probably should use a 1-to-1. It will work on any proportions. Just to repeat that. But we probably should use a 1-to-1, or it's not going to have that grid effect that you want on Instagram. It's not going to look right. So you make this a 1-to-1 crop. And as a reminder, plenty of resolution in this shot. It's not hardly cropped, or excuse me, it's not reduced. It's not downsampled. And then we say grid box split 9-way, hit OK, or hit continue. All right, so let's zoom some of these out. Cropping decide to match the original, and that's OK. Now we have top left, top center, top right, and they're all labeled. Middle left, middle center, middle right, bottom left, you see where we're going with this, bottom right, bottom center, and bottom right. And there they are. Now, we have the Photoshop window parameters there obstructing everything, but these are perfectly cut out, mathematically perfect. And so if you save all 9, you can leave the names like they are, you can rename them, etc. And then you upload those, of course, in order, and you'll have the perfect grid on your Instagram. Again, if that's something that you choose to do. Let's close these out. Makes quite a few files, but that's so you can keep everything organized. Now, the key here that I want to show you, one of the things, is that although this was a flattened file anyway, it didn't modify it. But let's go to this file. This one is my work file. It still has some layers, my color work layers, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm done. I'm done with my edit. Now I want to get it ready for Instagram. I'm going to do a grid thing. Okay, well, you can do a couple of things. You can get your crop ready. So because I want to do the 12-way, okay, it's going to require a 3-to-4 crop, okay? So I'm going to put it on a 3-to-4 crop here in some manner, deciding that this is how I want it to be. So I crop it. There we go. And as you can see, I still have layers. Now, you might have already cropped it up front too. I don't know. But I'm cropping it later, or rather later in the workflow. All right, so there it is with all the layers still there. And if I hit 12, it's going to say, hey, you should probably be 3-4. Hit OK. Give that just a few seconds. And boom. Okay, so let's once again, let's kind of zoom out a little bit here and organize our files. Let's move these out of the way. We have 4 and 5. These are, again, they're all labeled for your convenience. So you can, at any moment, you can just start saving. And at least they'll have the numbers on it. So you don't even have to really organize these into this layout to take a look at it, unless you just want to. But you don't have to, because the numbers are there. And if you understand how the numbering system works for these, 1, 2, 3 across, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, then you'll have no problem saving the files. You have to be pretty committed to this idea, as you can tell. But at least doing the cropping part, which historically would take a long time, is more or less instant. It takes a few seconds and there you go. And again, the window parameters notwithstanding, these are perfectly cropped. And if you uploaded them all one at a time into your Instagram account, then you have the perfect grid. Okay. So a couple other things I want to show you before we go, because there, it's not to say that this is the only way to upload to Instagram and that everybody wants to do a grid, but it gives you an option, and that's not a problem at all. Okay, so on this shot here, which is not cropped for Instagram, the famous 4:5 crop, right? We have some other options as well. These are included in some of other action packs, but now they're here. So we have the IG Prep Auto Orientation, Prep 4x5 Vertical, Prep 4x5 Vertical White Bars, 4x5 Vertical Blur Bars, okay, and then Auto Orientation. So let's go ahead, and it's a 1-1, by the way. So we have a 4-5 Vertical Black Bars. We hit that. We get a copy of it, resampled to 2048 pixels, generally ideal, with black bars to make it 4x5. If you don't like the black bars, that's okay, because we have a white bar option, which could be good for you or not. And we have a blur bar option, which in this case is not too obvious, but you can see it makes the background blurred. So if I were to revert this one, let's let that load. And there we go. We can kind of see what we get here. Let's go to our blur. It's going to go ahead and flatten, etc., do what it needs to do. And the end result is 4x5 with a little bit of an image blur. The same content around it, kind of, hide the fact that those bars are there a little bit anyway, right? So those are some options there. 1-to-1 makes a square if you want, and the auto orientation just kind of, depending on if it's a horizontal or vertical, it'll give it a light sharpening and whatnot. Those we've had in other sets before. So I want to show you that today. It's pretty simple. The carousel cropping is kind of the main thing that people wanted, and that we got a lot of requests for. So we thought, well, all right, let's go ahead and make the carousel cropping for everybody. I think they'll enjoy that. And like I said, resolution is not lost. Here's an image that's very high res, very, very sharp, right? And I cropped it to 3:1. Close some of these out. There we go. Cropped it 3:1. And then let's make it a 4-way split. Why not? Okay. Again, the framing could end up different depending on how you have your Photoshop set up. But as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit on these. Like I said, it's not even necessary to lay them out like this. You just know 1, 2, 3, and 4, save them as JPEG, and you're good to go. That crop is perfect. And like I said, it is in fact very high res. These pieces are in fact high res. It does not change the resolution of your files, or the pixel dimensions, I should say. That's for you to do if you choose to. So anyway, any questions, leave us a comment below. You can go to our website, nbpretouchtools.com, to find this set. And hope you enjoy it. And again, if you have any other requests like this, we're always listening, because, hey, we'll give you what you need, and we keep the prices always affordable.